Shalom and welcome to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. This is a recording of a Shabbat teaching by Rabbi Adam Kligfeld.
So for those of you who've been coming to Temple Beth and Sudash Shishit for a long time, this does feel retro. This is how we used to do it. Back in the good old days, we would daven in the chapel and then study here in Hirsch Hall. I guess it was COVID that switched that around. I don't remember, but it's nice to be back in this space teaching. Everyone in the room has the sheet that was handed out. Those of you who are not in the room, it was the link was in the Shabbat email. But in case you don't have it in front of you, I'll go through the texts slowly. So this is one of those teachings where I had no idea what I wanted to teach before I started studying the Parsha. And that's kind of the most traditional way of teaching Torah, right? Sometimes you know exactly what you want to say, and you just search until you find the verses that reinforce that. And sometimes you do what I did, which is open up the Parsha and say, what's speaking to me? And go on a bit of a, not quite a wild goose chase, but a meandering through the texts. We're going to spend most of the time on the second half of this one verse, but a little bit of time in the first half. This is a verse that, to the extent it's known by more people than hardcore students of the Torah, it's because it's turned into a song, because it's part of the liturgy that you're supposed to sing to your children when you put them to bed at night. And, I've been singing this song at bedtime for, 23 years. In fact, it was very sad a few months ago when my youngest Lev said that he felt like he had graduated from being sung Hamalach Hagol. So he'll permit us to sing the Shema to him, but now I have to sing Hamalach Hagol to my dog or something if I want to sing it to him. Yeah. I don't know the origin of the tune, but it's literally the only tune I know to the song. If you know it, you can sing along with me because it's pretty. Hamalach Hagol Eloti, Hamalach Hagol Eloti Mikora, Yevarech et haniyarim, Vikarei bahem shemi. Hamalach Hagol Eloti, Hamalach Hagol Eloti Mikora, Yevarech et haniyarim, Vikarei bahem shemi.
Hello.
V'shem avotai, v'shem avotai, Avram ve'Yitzchak ve'Yidgul arov, ve'Yidgul arov b'kerev haaretz.
Well, I mean, what I don't understand. I mean, he what's crazy is
V'shem avotai, Avram ve'Yitzchak ve'Yidgul arov, ve'Yidgul arov b'kerev haaretz. The speaker in this verse, and I forgot to give you the chapter verse in case you don't have the sheet in front of you, is chapter 48 of Genesis of Reshit, verse 16, is Jacob, is Yisrael. And the word's meaning means as follows. Hamalach, a word that can be translated in two ways. Malach can mean messenger, or malach can mean angel, okay? And maybe those two things are kind of the same in the biblical sense, but it's translated in two different ways. The angel or the messenger, Hagoel Oti. If we wanted to be very precise in the grammar here, how would we translate Hagoel Oti? What does the root Gaal mean? Redeem. So Hagoel Oti, in what tense is it? Present. Literally, Hamalach Hagoel Oti, the angel that is redeeming me, present tense, Mikol Ra, from all hard stuff, all evil. Yivarech, may that angel bless, Etana Arim, the lads. Who are the lads that Jacob is referring to? Ephraim and Manasseh, right? Joseph's two children who are going to be kind of upgraded into as if they are the tribes themselves, not the grandchildren. V'yikarei vahem shemi. May my name be called in them. It's unclear here if what's going on is something kind of conceptual or literal. Is it may my influence be in them, or may they literally be known through my name as if they are my children? Not just my name, but Vishem Abutai, the name of my ancestors. Who are they? Avram and Yitzchak, Abraham and Isaac. And now this wonderful verb, V'yidgu larov bekerev haaretz. The root of the verb V'yidgu is what? Dag. Dag means fish, right? It's the strangest verb in some ways in the Torah, right? They will be, I have here the translation on the left is the translation of Everett Fox, who tries really, really hard to write his translation in a workable English, but that is very true to all of the vocabulary of the Hebrew. And so he turns v'yidgu into a hyphenated verb that they may teem like fish, as if that's an expression in English. It isn't. But he's trying to make sense of the fact that he believes this root, it doesn't just look like it's from the root dog, it's from the root dog, meaning fish, that they should kind of fish out. They should multiply like fishes multiply. Do fishes multiply a lot? We think of rabbits as multiplying, right? But somehow this verb got used here, larov, to many, where bekerev haaretz, in the, within the land. The basic sense of the verb is easy. The sentence is easy to figure out, right? I've been taken care of by a malach. That's how I experience my life. Jacob says, "May that malach bless the lads. May they be known through me. May I continue to be known through them. May they be many throughout the land." Okay. So, in terms of a bequeathing, a blessing to the next generation, the verse makes sense. But I want to drill down on two parts of it. The first part I want to drill down is the Hamalach HaGoel Oti. Both the question of who or what this malach is and why it's in that tense. Okay? I'm all of a sudden very thirsty. Bill, do you mind just filling some water for me? Thank you. Okay, Rashi on this verse. Hamalach HaGoel Oti. Rashi translates it as Malach haragil, the regular, normal angel that I have had a relationship with. Thank you, Bill. Lehishtaleach elai, the one who is usually sent to me, bitsarati, when I'm in distress, right? We might call this what in English vernacular? A guardian angel, right? Rashi is basically saying that Jacob is saying, I'm not referring to Hamalach, the angel, as if there's one. It's not the archangel, right? Because that ha is a definite article, meaning the angel that is assigned celestially to take care of me. He's experiencing, or Rashi is imputing to Jacob that Jacob experiences his life as if there's always an angel there to protect him. Ka'inyan, like the situation, Shinamar, as it says earlier on in Breshit 31, Vayomer Elai Malach Elohim, the angel of God said to me, Bachalom, Yaakov, in Jacob's dream, Anochi ha'el Beit El. I am the God Beit El. He's referencing a scene where he was in distress about the upcoming journey, and an angel appeared to him, and Rashi says, yeah, that's Jacob's angel. By expansion, if you think of Rashi as always giving a sermon and not just only commenting on the Torah, what's the sermon that Rashi's giving in this 10 or 12 word commentary? What's the therefore? Wonderful, Warren. Rashi doesn't say this explicitly. He never says the sermon explicitly, but it's implied. What he might be saying is, we are descendants of Jacob. We are descendants of Israel. Maybe we should experience our life as if there's some assignment from the heavens to us, and that when we feel the presence of the divine, it's being mediated through an angelic figure who's ours and ours only. And I have a different one than you, and you have a different one than someone else, right? A possibility. Can we prove it? No, but that might be what he's going there. Now, look at source 3. Source 3 is the Gur Aryeh, which is the commentary on Rashi's commentary of the Torah by the Maharal of Prague, the great master Rabbi Yehuda Loew of Prague, who is associated with the legend of the Golem. And he's not commenting on the verse, he's commenting on Rashi's comment on the verse. Malach haragil. Mipnei shelashon goel, because the word goel, mashma lashon hoveh, suggests the present tense, velo haya goelo ata, and in the moment that Jacob was speaking, we don't seem to see an angel redeeming him then, right? So the present tense doesn't make sense vis-a-vis what's happening to Jacob in the moment. So there are many ways in which the present tense can operate. It can operate as a way of describing what's happening now, or it can operate in a way that conveys a regularity, as something that happens that often happens in the present tense, even if it's not happening now. So since he can't be referring to that moment, because there's no moment of redemption. In fact, he's dying. It's got to be Sheyomar Hamalach Hagoel, when he says the angel who redeems, Hutzrach Lefaresh, he, Rashi, was obligated to understand it, meaning Hamalach Haragil, that normative, regular angel who often is there redeeming me, meaning I'm almost thinking back to many, many, many present tenses where that angel is redeeming me, and that's how I can use the present tense. Ulefichach, therefore, Nikra Hagoel. It's called Hagoel, B'lashon Hoveh, in the present tense. Okay, I wanted to break that down, just who this malach was and what the impact of the word Goel is. Let me pause there to see if anyone has questions or comments, and then we'll look at the fishes. Questions, comments? Warren, for those of you on Zoom, we only have one microphone here, so you're going to hear quiet if you don't hear him, but I'll repeat it. Warren. That's a wonderful comment. Let me repeat it. What Warren said is that we think of redemption or redeeming as taking place in a single moment, right? What's the bracha before the Amidah in Shachrit? Baruch atah Hashem Ga'al Yisrael. Blessed are you, God, who redeemed Israel, not continuously. Then, when? Exodus of Egypt. That was redemption. The Geula, in fact, when we, in from speak, we talk about the Geula, the redemption. We speak about the moment in the eschatological future where the Mashiach will come and redeem us from the yuck of this world. A single event. But Warren is saying that this verse might be saying, particularly through the commentary of Rashi, that maybe redemption can also be thought of as an ongoing process, and that any moment that you are freeing yourself from shackles or expanding past your limitations, that is a moment of redemption too. It doesn't have to just refer to a single moment getting out of slavery. Good. Alan. Yes. Yes. Correct. Baruch atah Hashem. Yeah. Yeah, the thing I say 3 times a day that now I can't produce. Goel Yisrael, correct. Yes. Well, I mean, I think all of those blessings, or most of those blessings, are ultimately praising God, who we imagine to constantly be in that mode of doing that with us in the present tense, correct? Right, and so what Alan said, building on what Warren said, that redemption isn't just what happened to us when we left Egypt, it happens every day. You can read that in 2 directions. You can read it to mean, one hand, it doesn't have to be a Exodus from Egypt moment for us to experience it as a spiritual redemption. There's spiritual redemption every day. Or when you experience a small moment of spiritual redemption, it's like you're leaving Egypt again, right? You can titrate it down or titrate it up as you imagine the relationship between everyday redemption and the redemption. Good. Okay. Mark, yeah. Good. So Mark is asking a question which is astute to how Hebrew grammar works. Can goel not just mean the verb redeeming, but the redeemer? Yes, right? And probably one of the senses in the bracha, Alan, of Goel Yisrael is the redeemer of Israel, not necessarily the present tense verse, one who redeems Israel. The way the phrase Hamalach HaGoel Oti is constructed, it seems that the word Goel is operating more as a verb than as a title. I can't really put into words why. It's like intuitive to me. But yes, on its own, HaGoel could both mean the one who's redeeming and the redeemer. Correct. Okay, let's look at the second half of the verse. Rashi continues It's on his actual comments on the top of page 2. On the word vayidgu, which again, I mean, the simplest way to say it in English is that they will fish. Not that they will go searching for fish, but that something to do with fish. Although I remember I had a children's book I used to read to my kids about funny ways that Hebrew words can be put together. And one of them was the following 3-word sentence is a perfectly good sentence. It's dog, dog, dog. And there was a cartoon of a fish who was a fisherman who was fishing for fish. And the way you would say that in Hebrew is dog, the fish, dog goes fishing, dog for fish. No one's going fishing here, but it has to do with fish. It's like this. It's like buffalo, buffalo, if you know the buffalo line. You know the buffalo? Everyone know the buffalo? I can't believe I'm doing this. The following is a perfectly good English syntactical sentence. Buffalo, 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 buffalo. It means something. It means bison from Western New York who were swindled by bison from Western New York swindle bison from Western New York. Because to buffalo someone means to swindle, and to be, if you are the one who has been buffaloed, you are the buffalo. So buffalo, 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 buffalo. Dog, dog, dog. Okay. Correct. The city of Buffalo. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled programming. So what does Rashi say? On Vayidgu, the blessing is kadagim. They will become like the fish, halal, though those kinds of fish. Sheparim v'ravim, that's the expansion of pruervu, that are fruitful and multiply. So I suppose in the rabbinic idiom, fish are known to just multiply like rabbits, multiply like fish. Ve'ein ha'ayin hara sholetet bahem. This is a really interesting phrase, and this is what I want to unpack with you. They are so bountiful that the evil eye has no shlita, no dominion, no power over them. In modern Hebrew, a shalat is a remote control, right? So the verb sholet means to control, to have dominion over. What do we think Rashi is saying? What does it mean to say that they're going to be like fish? In what way? That they're going to be very numerous, and the evil eye, whatever we think Rashi thinks the evil eye means, will have no dominion or power over them. What does it mean to say the evil eye has no power over you? Say more, Brant. So it's almost like we try to confuse the Satan Erev Rosh Hashanah by not blowing the shofar because we think that if we awaken Satan's awareness of the fact that we're about to all be in shul together, he'll come and get us. So if one of us alone might be susceptible to be controlled by the evil eye, but if there's so many of us, the evil eye will be overwhelmed and say, it's not worth the trouble. I'll never get all of them. I'll get none of them. Maybe. What else? Rebecca? Rebecca reads it differently. Good. So it's almost like a but. They will be so numerous, but lest you think that when they become numerous, there'll be infighting and there'll be hatred, there'll be jealousy. No, they're going to be numerous and spared from some of the things that sometimes happens when a group gets to be too big. Like fish, because fish don't have jealousy over one another. Bill got some more. Thank you, Bill. Right. So Rosa's saying that in the Yiddish culture, the notion of protecting yourself from the evil eye is a big deal. But what does it mean in that culture? It means that you lest the evil eye come and put a hex on you. Right. There's almost like a superstition. It's unclear if that's what Rashi means here. And Rashi lives well before the Eastern European Yiddish-speaking culture. Warren and then Rosemary. So one second, Rosa. So what Warren is saying is that maybe what's going on here is that by describing them to fish, unlike human beings with higher brain processes that are susceptible to the evil eye, fish, all they do is they swim and they eat, and therefore they're not susceptible. Then the question is this a compliment? Is Jacob really saying, I want my offspring to be numerous and dumb, numerous and low functioning? In order to be spared from the evil eye, they have to kind of be lower than humans. It's hard to understand it that way because this seems like a compliment. If you look Rosemary, and then I'm going to read the next source. So what Rosemary is saying is that it's the very numerousness will make it harder for the evil eye to kind of find an individual one of us and pounce on us and make us vulnerable. If you look in the English side of the Rashi, there's a notation there that he's taking this comment from the Talmud from Masechet Brachot, page 28, and I want to read a portion of that with you, because you'll see there's more than one way of understanding what it even means to say that the evil eye will not have power over them. Okay, so this is in Aramaic. I'm going to read it and then translate it. It's translated on the side as well. Rav, and like every Talmudic story, it's very terse. So there's a lot you have to fill in to get the full context. Rav Gidel hava regil dahava ka'azel v'yatev ashare de tefila. Rav Gidel was regularly one who would sit literally at the gates of the immersion. What does that mean? Where would he sit? By the mikveh, right? At the gates of the immersion. By the way, not very tznius of him, not very modest, right? Who generally comes to immerse? Women, right? Women who are coming to, undress and bathe. And all of a sudden we have the Rav Gidel, where it was commonly sitting there. Is he someone who the evil eye is controlling? Let's see. Amar lahu. He said to them, to whom the women who were going into dunk, hachi tevilu v'hachi tevilu. You should do it this way or that way, right? There are a lot of different ways of understanding this scene. One is you have a rabbi who cares very much about the immersions being done properly. Why? What's at stake? Why are they immersing? They're probably immersing in order to resume intimate relations with their husbands, and that's a very significant halachic practice. And we're not embarrassed in Judaism about rituals having to do with the body. He wants to make sure they know how to do it. By the way, this is done to this day. If you take this ritual seriously, you are instructed by a rabbi how to do it. There are also some uncomfortable associations here. And in fact, not that long ago in the United States, in Orthodoxy, you had a terrible scandal of a rabbi who was a renowned and beloved rabbi who was in Washington, D.C., who was exposed to be a Rav Gidel, but not the right kind of Rav Gidel, where he was essentially a peeping Tom in the mikveh, right? So this brings up uncomfortable associations because of that. It's not clear if there's anything lurid implied here. He may have just been making sure that they were dunking properly. But Amrei le Rabbanan, his colleague said to him, Lo ka mistafe mar miyetzahara. Are you not concerned about your evil eye? Your evil inclination? Meaning, we presume that you are motivated by the good. But if you're a man, and you're a man of a normal libido, and you're standing there, and women are coming in and out of the bath over and over again, and you're imagining what's going on, how are you going to control yourself from what you might have the urge to do? Amarlo, who he said to them, Damyan ba'apai ki ka'ake chivare. To me, they're just like white geese. I don't know why white geese the reference here, but I think the Talmud is basically saying there's no concern about my getting into an uncomfortable place or being unnecessarily aroused. They're like birds to me, right? Don't worry, nothing is going to happen that shouldn't happen. Okay, hold that story in your head, because now we have another story that's similar, and it's the second story that connects us to the comment by Rashi. Rabbi Yochanan, another rabbi. Well, what's the most significant thing that is known about Rabbi Yochanan? He was, anyone know? He was beautiful. Rabbi Yochanan was understood to be, in the Talmud, to be exceedingly, almost supernaturally attractive. Okay? Hava ragil da hava ka'azel. He would regularly go and sit, v'yatev asharei de tefila, at the gates of the mikveh. Amar, he said, Ki salkan benot Yisrael. When the daughters of Israel emerge, va'atyan mitfila, and come up from their immersion, mistaklan bi, they're going to look at me, they're going to behold me. V'nehev, and by the way, what are they doing after they go to the mikveh? Going home to have relations. V'neheve lahu zara de shapiri kibote. Maybe inspired by my beauty, they'll go home, they'll be intimate, they'll conceive, and they'll have children with my beauty, right? This is ridiculous, but not entirely ridiculous inside biblical and Talmudic stories. Most of Parshat Vayetze, right, the inbreeding that Yaakov does to make sure the speckled become more speckled, and the way he tricks Lavan, has to do with imagining that what the goats are looking at as they are mating impacts how their offspring are going to emerge. This is not, don't think of this as science, I think of it as lore. And he wants the next generation of Jews to be pretty. Amre le Rabbanan. The rabbi said to him, okay, even if you're well-intended, same question. Laka mistafe mar me'ena bisha? Is our teacher not concerned about, Eina bisha is the Aramaic for Yetzer hara, or ayin hara. Is our master not concerned about the evil eye overtaking you and pushing you to do something you shouldn't do? Amar lahu, he said to them. Here's the point. Ana mizara de Yosef ka'atena. I am from the seed of Joseph. Dela shalta be'ena bisha. We know that the evil eye has no power over the descendants of Joseph. How do we know it? Dichtiv, as it says in Parshat Vayechi later on, when Jacob gives the blessing to Joseph, Ben porat Yosef. Yosef is like a bountiful vine. Ben porat ale ayin. These blessings that Jacob gives to the children of Vayechi is really hard Hebrew to decipher. So I don't even want to translate it, but something like a bountiful spring, ale, upon ayin. Ayin can mean eye, but ayin can also mean spring. I was there last week. Ein gedi, ma'ayan, same root. Like some kind of a overflowing spring. But Amar Rabbi Abahu, and Rabbi Abahu said in that verse, and this is done all the time in Talmudic conversations, right? Don't read the words in the Torah the way it looks. Read it this way instead. Al tikre ale ayin. Don't read it as kind of upon a spring. Ella ole ayin. Instead of ale ole. Ole means those who go up, those who transcend, those who overcome the ayin. What does the ayin mean in this midrash? The ayin hara, the evil eye, right? So he says, no, I'm from the descendants of Joseph. Joseph is giving the blessing, and a midrashic reading of the blessing is they're going to be ole ayin. The evil eye will have no control of them. No Jew has ever had an urge to do something that they weren't supposed to do. Of course they have, but in the midrash he's saying I am exempt from that, or I am immune. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina Amar Mahacha, and Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Chanina, learned the same concept from a different verse. What's the verse? Our verse. V'yidgu la'rov b'kerab ha'aretz. They're going to become multiple like fish throughout the land. Ma'dagim shebayam. Just as fish in the sea. Ma'im mechasina lehem. Water covers them. Ve'ein ayin hara sholetet bahem. And therefore, they are immune from the evil eye being upon them. Not because they're dumb, and not even because they're numerous, but because they're in a different matrix. They're not even in the world. They're down in the sea. Af zaro shel Yosef ein ayin hara sholetet bahem. So the offspring of Joseph, the evil eye will not be able to control them. What is the implied matrix in which the offspring of Joseph are swimming in, such that they are protected from the evil eye? It's not water. What is it? What's our protective matrix? Tybal. Torah, right? Just as the fish have their reality in a realm where the evil eye has no reach, right? So the offspring of Joseph should be blessed to have their own universe like the fish do, where if we live Torah and we study Torah and we do Torah, we can sit by all the mikvahs we want in the world, and we'll never have an urge we're not supposed to have. It obviously doesn't happen that way, but the hope is that it might, and it's a very different read of the verse. It's not that may they be like fish and be many. It's may they be like fish and live in a realm where the normal earthly evil powers cannot reach us. In the Sea of Torah, exactly. Yes, Diego. Yes. Now, because we live in the real world, we all know many instances where people who should have the protection because of their immersion in the Sea of Torah stumble all the time in their urges having to do with all sorts of ethical breaches, right? It's not a perfect mask. It's not a perfect coat of armor, right? But I think on some level, one of the reasons why we toil and live this world is because we believe we have a better chance of living a high ethical reality where some of our urges are channeled into good things because we're surrounded by one another and we're surrounded by ritual and we daven and we pray and we put on tefillin and we study, and maybe there's just a little bit less space in our world to be tempted by all the things that all those people out there who are not us are tempted by. You can say this too strongly and it can become jingoistic, right? Jews, withstand their urges, other people do not. I would never say it that way. But I do think that my life is better and finer and more refined because a significant amount of my life is in the sea of Torah, somewhat protected from some of the schmutz out there. I see Joanna's hand. I want to give you a chance to speak, and then Warren.
This understanding of the fish dovetails beautifully with the midrash of the fox that tries to lure the fish out of water, and the teaching from that the fish refuse. They know they'll die if they leave the water. So too, the way a fish can't live without water, a Jew can't live without Torah.
Beautiful. This jumps on something that I said this morning in our Torah. Sometimes I get very, very I have very uncomfortable feelings, and I get impatient about our fellow religionists who live a very extreme expression of Judaism, who look askance upon our way of doing life in Torah, because I think that it's judgmental and it's small-minded. But inside the logic of what we're talking about right now, I get their nervousness about living anywhere close to the lives that we live, because once you're tempted by a little bit, you're going to be tempted by a lot, right? It's Sylvester and Tweety, right? Who kept moving if you keep moving the line, all of a sudden you're closer to danger. So I'm very happy I'm living this life, and that I don't think this person in this body in this lifetime was not meant to live a Haredi lifestyle. But I get their fear because all of them are fish in the ocean, and that's the only ocean they want to breathe out of. And they're nervous that once they poke their head into our world, they're going to lose whatever keeps them as close as they feel to God and Torah. So there's something going on in trying to imagine our connection to the fishes here. Warren, last comment, and then we're not going to have time for the last source, but I suggest that you read it if you're interested, because it's a third way of understanding what the comparison to fish is supposed to be like. Yes. Yeah, what he was saying is that the law gives us a structure that helps us fight what we all otherwise would be pushed to do or experience because of our emotions. And by the way, our emotions and our urges are not all bad, but some of them can take us to bad places, and so it's supposed to channel us into holy expressions of those natural human urges. Okay, so at your own pace, you can read sources 6, 7, and 8. It gives a different understanding as to what it means to not be susceptible to the evil eye. And may we find many nourishing waters and seas and oceans to multiply like fishes, and to be less susceptible to the evil influences around us, and continue to earn the blessing that Jacob gave us all those centuries ago.
You've been listening to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. If you enjoy these podcasts, we invite you to write a review on the Apple Podcast site or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about Temple Beth Am, Los Angeles, go to tbala.org.